So this worksheet is all about how many solutions does each system have. It doesn't ask you to solve the system and get the actual solution. It just wants to know how many are there. And there's only three options. You can either have one solution, you could have no solution, or an infinite number of solutions. So those are your only three options for an answer for these questions. And to do that, you want to think graphically. So if you have a graph, here's my x, here's my y, and the lines can either cross, so I can draw two lines, and they might cross. Where they intersect is a solution, is the solution. The other thing that can happen is you can have parallel lines, and then there would be no solution. And then the last thing that can happen is those lines are the exact same line. So if I draw a line and then draw another line right on top of it, and so if they're the exact same line, they're the exact same equation, then they will have an infinite number of solutions because they're crossing, intersecting all the time. So those are the three graphical things that can happen. If they are parallel, then they have the same slope. If they are going to intersect, they're going to have different slopes. And if they're the exact same line, then they have the same slope and the same y-intercept. So the same b value. They're the exact same line. That's another way to say that. Exact same line. Okay, so if you see the exact same equation, then it's an infinite number of solutions right away. If you see the same slope but different b, right, you have a different b value, different y-intercept, then those would be no solution because they never cross. If you see different slopes, you're done right there. There's one solution. Okay, so number one, they have the same slope, right? Same slope. So it's either no solution or an infinite number of solutions. And to check that, you check the b value. Okay, they're different. So they are different lines. So that tells you that there is no solution. Okay, if the slopes are the same, then it's one of those two. That's no solution or an infinite number of solutions. But if check out number two, the slopes are different. And if the slopes are different, then there is only one solution. So that's what I would do, is go through and check the slopes. And if the slopes are the same, then you're either no solution or an infinite number of solutions. If the slopes are different, then there is one solution all the time. Okay, so number three, same slope, but the 1 and the 13 are different, so there's no solution. Number four, different slopes, right? They're both 6s, but one's positive, the other one's negative. So that's one solution right away. It's different slope, one solution. Numbers 5 and 6 here, you only have one of the equations solved for y. So you know the slope for one of the equations. We don't know the slope for the other equation. So you're going to take that other equation and solve it for y so that you can know the slope. So I just rewrote it down there, and I'm going to add the 18x to move it to the other side of the equation. Add 18x to both sides. We have negative 3y. Remember, don't combine these guys because they're not like terms. So we just list it out, 18x minus 12. Then we want to get the y by itself. So you're going to divide both sides by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. Everything gets divided by negative 3. So now the y is by itself. 18 divided by negative 3 is going to be a negative 6. Keep the x. Negative 12 divided by negative 3 is positive 4. Okay, so now you're comparing the slopes. So we had a positive 6 slope in the other one. Here we have a negative 6 slope, different slopes, one solution. So you don't need to find the solution. You just need to tell me that there is one solution. Okay. The other thing you could do is go ahead and solve it, and if you get a solution, then there's obviously one solution. Okay, so numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 11 and 12, and 13 and 14, you could go and solve them. So they're set up for elimination. So you could go ahead and solve using elimination, or you could get them equal to y. You've got options. You always have options with these things. So you could do what we did on the front over there, solve them for y, but you're going to have to solve both of them, which is fine. But the other thing you can do is try to eliminate them. So what I mean by that, I could multiply this by 3 to get to the 3x, and I could do a negative 3 to eliminate them. So I'm going to have negative 3x positive 18y equals negative 12. So I just distributed that negative 3, and I'm not going to change the other equation, so I'm just going to bring it over. So 3x minus 18y equals positive 12. So if everything eliminates like it's going to do here, right, everything's opposites, those 3's will cancel out, the 18's will cancel out, the 12's will cancel out. What that says is that there's an infinite number of solutions. If you have 0 equals 0, it's an infinite number of solutions, because that's a true statement. If you get a true statement, then it's true all the time, so that you have a solution no matter where you are on the line. The other way to look at this is if I multiplied that by 3 instead of a negative 3, then you would see, so if I distribute this with a positive 3 instead of a negative 3, you'll see that it will be the exact same equation. All right, so the red equation that I just wrote is the same as the top equation up there. So if that happens, if they're exactly the same, then there's an infinite number of solutions. Okay, so that's the other way. Instead of eliminating them, you can get them the same. But that's the idea. You want to figure out, are there an infinite number of solutions, no solution, or just one solution? So if there was no solution, let's see, number 8 over here, let's take a look at that. So if I multiply this one by 4, and I'm going to do a negative so they eliminate like you're used to, what's going to happen here? I'm going to have negative 12x, distributing this here. I'm going to have a negative 8y, and then I'm going to have equals positive 12. Then I'm going to bring along the second equation, not changing anything. Okay, then I'm going to add them together. The x's cancel out, the y's cancel out, but the numbers don't. Right, so I have 0 equals 21. And that's false, right? 0 does not equal 21. So that's what it looks like when there's no solution. Okay, so those are the different things that can happen. You've seen a few of these before, so it's not terribly new, but I don't want you to solve each of these. I just want you to determine, is there a solution? Is there no solution, or is there an infinite number of solutions?